Welcome to State of Minds, presented by Hope Gas and by Greer Industries. In this episode, I sit down with Morgan O'Brien, the president and CEO of Hope Gas. We discuss a range of topics, including the company's decision to acquire the naming rights to Hope Coliseum and how the move has been received by people inside and outside the company. Now, here's Morgan O'Brien's State of Mind. Morgan, you spent most of your adult life in southwestern Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area, working in the utility sector.
Yes.
But now, last couple of years, you're in West Virginia.
Yep.
You become a West Virginian, and you're leading Hope Gas, which formerly was Dominion, which formerly was Hope. Now it's Hope Gas again. We'll get into that. What brought you to West Virginia?
Honestly, it was the opportunity that I see with Hope, right? West Virginia is a different state, even though it's so close to Pennsylvania and Ohio and Virginia, and I'll call it this region, right? But like every state, it has its attributes, and West Virginia has energy rich, and energy is an important part of the West Virginia economy, and people accept it. And it's got hardworking people, right? And that combination said West Virginia is a place, particularly in the energy space, this is prime space to be an energy company.
Mm-hmm. I want to point out that Hope Gas is a sponsor of State of Minds. I want to issue that disclaimer.
Oh, okay.
So so that's on the record. You all brought back Hope Gas. I mean, Hope Gas has been around since 1898 in one form or another. Then most recently it was Dominion.
Yep.
But you and the investors bought it, I think, in 2022. And you brought back Hope Gas. Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, and we can talk a lot about this, who doesn't want hope, right? It sounds a little corny to say that, but the reality is the name, I said if I had hired a New York branding firm, I don't think they could have got a better name. And I'll say this, Hoppy, that as I've tried to learn more and more about West Virginia, the name Hope Gas meant a lot to the people here because it's been such a long part of the community. It's had many different owners over the 127 years, and so it's had maybe different faces attached to it, but the name of Hope Gas meant something to people in West Virginia, and no one more than my employees. And so when we bought the company, and it was Dominion Energy West Virginia, I think a lot of people felt like it had lost its identity, and felt, even though nothing substantively changed, wasn't as part of the community as it used to be. And, I would hear from employees, my grandfather worked at Hope Gas, my great-great-grandfather worked here. The legacy and sort of the connection to families and traditions, it felt like it was an important part of what West Virginia is.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like an emotional decision as well as a strategic decision.
Yeah, and I'll just say it, people don't like to talk about emotions in a business, but the reality is if you can create positive emotion in your employees and they feel good about who they are, it's proven they actually perform at a higher level, right? So my employees feeling good about who we are is really, really important to me.
Yeah. So Hope Gas is, you have 6,900 miles of pipeline. Mm-hmm. You're mostly in West Virginia, northern, north central, western West Virginia, normally mostly in that area. And you're in the pipeline business, you're in the distribution business.
Yes.
Is that static or is there growth?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're living in a day, right? So you overlay where we are as a country, and everybody's 100% on board, we need more energy. And so it doesn't feel very static at all. Actually feels like this is a great time to be an energy company. And I would say it this way, West Virginia has incredible assets, right? We all talk about the mountains and the rivers and the beauty of West Virginia, right? We talk about the traditions of the people and the values. But the reality is probably one of the most opportunities we have is the energy that we have in the ground here. We have, I believe it's the 4th largest gas reserve in the world, like not in this region, but truly in the world. And a big part of our, I'll just say it, our focus is that's an incredible asset that when you combine it with all of the other assets in West Virginia, it really should make a competitive difference as West Virginia competes against Pennsylvania and Ohio and Kentucky to bring more investment, more opportunities here.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking about bringing opportunities here. I think historically the gas has gone there.
Yes.
It's gone to other parts of the country. It's gone to the Eastern Shore for LNG exports.
Yes.
So what are the opportunities here?
Yeah, one of the things, we all learn, no matter how much we've been in an industry, we get up in the morning and we learn something that day. And I would say a lot of us have really learned a lot by what's happening, staring at what's happening in data centers, right? So everybody's talking about them, and there's people that are excited about it, others that don't want it, right? There's the whole argument of having a big piece of machinery sitting in a warehouse in your neighborhood, right? But the reality is, one of the things that industry showed us with all of the challenges between building interstate pipelines, interstate electric transmission lines, the decision that industry made was, rather than bring the energy to our facility, we're going to build our facility where the energy is, right? So all of a sudden, the narrative of how do we get gas out of the ground into a pipeline to wherever that data center is, how do we get the data center to build itself here, right? And so all those challenges and obstacles that people have said, this is what's really slowing down manufacturing and bringing jobs back to the United States. That industry has sort of changed, I think, a lot of us how we think about it. And today, we sit there and say, instead of building interstate pipelines and transmission, why don't we use our assets to our advantage? Let's get some data centers here, but let's get manufacturing here. Let's get people that use energy to do things. Let's bring them here as opposed to taking our energy to where they are.
So it sounds like that your approach is not just as a pipeline guy, right? I mean, you could just be, we're distributing the gas, the rest is up to you all. But are you taking more of a lead in trying to do what happens when the gas gets someplace in West Virginia?
Yeah, so the way I would describe it is we have our piece of the puzzle, right? We are a regulated utility that builds pipelines ultimately to end customers, right? So that's my model. But if I partner, not compete, but partner with people who are in the business of running power plants, like utilities, like folks who are, I'll call it independent power producers, right? I can partner with those folks and help them execute their business plans by describing what West Virginia has, what pipelines we have, what ability we have to actually build things and get things done here. That's, I'll just say, our view of this is we're not changing our business model, but our end customers, instead of being the families in West Virginia, which they'll always be, might also include, a utility that wants to build a power plant. Might be a manufacturing facility that wants to build a manufacturing facility. Our end customers are everything in the community beyond just serving the public that we do today.
West Virginia has mountains of potential.
I grew up in the Kanawha Valley. It's a privilege to be a West Virginian. What we've got to continue to drive in this state is that concept of hope for the future, moving not just West Virginia forward, but moving the nation forward.
West Virginia is for hope.
Hope Gas is lighting the way forward for West Virginia. Learn more at wvisforhope.com.
At Greer Industries, we make the roads you drive on safer with skid-resistant asphalt. We make the water you drink cleaner with our abundant supply of hydrated lime. We entertain and inform through all types of media. And we designed one of the world's most recognized golf courses. We're Greer Industries, a family-owned company with over 110 years of commitment to making your life better.
Come to Dan Cava GMC this holiday season and find a truck built for every winter moment. From the GMC Canyons that are now up to $2,500 off to the 2,500 GMC Sierras that are now up to $5,000 off, and the Sierra 1500s that are now up to $10,000 off. We've got the winter-ready trucks that your family can count on. Come see us today at Dan Cava GMC in Bridgeport. Shop Thora!
Steig Wealth Enhancement Group is now Wealth Enhancement. We believe retirement starts with a plan. Saving for college starts with a plan. Your legacy starts with a plan. Do you have the right plan? Call our team at 304-443-4240 or email steig-info@wealthenhancement.com.
Welcome back to State of Minds, presented by Hope Gas and by Greer Industries. Let's talk for a minute about what's going on nationally and globally.
Yeah.
And that is the dramatic increase in demand for energy. And it was pretty flat for a while, right?
Yes.
And then data centers came on board, AI takes a tremendous amount of energy. And all of a sudden, even though industry watchers have said it's been brewing, but all of a sudden everybody's going, we don't have enough energy. We're going to have brownouts. It's gonna be. So what is happening in this country in terms of demand, and will this country meet it with supply and distribution?
Yeah. I always explain to folks that if you think of your smartphone, right? Like if you just use that as an example, 4 years ago, you might use it to find an answer to a question. What's the capital of Wyoming, right? And you would type it in and it might present a bunch of websites. You click on it, you find it. Today, right, you hit your voice button and you say, how do I make a really good homemade spaghetti sauce? And it all of a sudden tells you that, right? And in a simple explanation, that's artificial intelligence, right? You're asking questions and the computer is providing you information. And your questions can get even more complex, as you've seen. And so if you equate that to energy, right? So those data centers, when we were Googling and writing these simple questions and websites would pop up, would use X amount of energy. Today, that's a multiple of 10. And
10.
If you just think of just that, right? So just that, right? It's you and me driving down the road. You got your GPS. Guess what? There was an accident down on High Street, and it tells you to go around the corner, right? Real time, right? That's artificial intelligence, and all that has intensified like multiples of what energy is necessary, and the quantity of, I'll call it, data processing that's necessary. And so that's just you and me. Forget about how business uses artificial intelligence and all of the problems that computers are solving that used to be done in a laboratory with a bunch of people in white coats now are done with mainframes, right? And so that's like an energy revolution. We were potentially thinking electric vehicles might do that, right? A few years ago, right? It was like, oh my gosh, if everybody in this country drives an electric vehicle, we got to have power plants on every neighborhood, right? Because there's not enough electricity for it. And that never occurred for a whole bunch of reasons, right? But this is occurring, right? I'll call it the AI, artificial intelligence. And for the average person, like it sounds like something robotic and it's foreign. We forget how much we're actually, the average person's using it every day, whether it's GPS, whether it's, trying to figure out how to make grandma's Italian spaghetti, whatever it is, right? We're using it, and that's creating this really, really dire need for energy. And so what's happening now, you have a vital industry. It's infrastructure of this country, all this data processing, right? And now you've got overlaying that where the energy needs were growing anyway. And then overlaying that was, I'll call it, the political battles that were going on in states where people were shutting down coal plants and going to renewable energy. And we sort of had this political battle that was diminishing our, I'll call it, reliable capacity as a country, right? And so all of that's the perfect storm. You've got more needs, less available capacity politically, people pushing against some of the, I'll call it the traditional ways that we create energy in this country. And those politics were winning in places and really having impacts. And then at the same time, now we've got this industry that everybody's dependent on, and it's using way more energy. And so it's an energy opportunity if you're an energy company.
And you're a gas guy.
I'm a gas guy.
You're a gas guy
Yep.
through and through. But one of the arguments is, look, instead of doubling down or tripling down on carbon-based fuels,
Sure.
why don't we double or triple or quadruple down on alternatives?
Yep.
On solar, on wind, on hydro, on nuclear,
Yeah.
and why don't we do those
Sure.
things and not rely on these carbon-based fuels? Your argument is what?
Well, the argument is we're not there, right? So that technology plays a part, and it's not going away, and it will continue to grow, right? Because as energy demands grow, people will be smart, whether having solar panels on your roof, thinking about energy differently, right? There's all kind of solutions that make sense for some people. On the other hand, the energy needs are real. It's not fictitious, right? And so we need real energy. And the part I always go to is if you push politics aside, which is hard to do,
I was going to
right?
say.
It's hard to do. But if you look at what industry's doing, right? And so, industry left this country when we said, we're gonna change our carbon footprint. We're gonna become something different, right? All of manufacturing left this country. I mean, there's some, but so much of it left, right? And it went to places where that traditional energy, coal and gas, was socially acceptable.
And labor cheaper.
And labor cheaper. Yeah. And what's happened now, though, right, with all of the I call it advanced manufacturing and robotics, labor is less of a feature today, a variance than it used to be. But it absolutely entered into it. But I'll call it these energy sources are real. I mean, China's planning massive growth on the coal side, right? They're and no one's slowing them down, and they're not having political debates, right? Like that's a practical solution to a real problem, and the country will go to it. I mean, as sadly as it is, industry will say that's where I can get my energy, so I'm going to outsource my manufacturing. I'm going to outsource my processing of my call centers. All this stuff, right, leaves the country because we're arguing over things that, I'll just say it, to me don't make sense. And we know, like I'll just know this as a fact, the two biggest states that had the lowest carbon reduction I'll just say it, in the last 10 years was Ohio and Pennsylvania, and their solution was using more gas. Using more natural gas, lower the carbon footprint, right? So it maybe not be the perfect answer, but it's definitely today it's a real practical answer, and also can move us in a direction that's going where we want to go, which is to have less of a environmental impact on using energy. We just started exploring converting natural gas to hydrogen and using it as a really clean fuel, right? Like the future of energy, none of us today sitting in these chairs can say what that's going to look like. And to me, it's always taking steps in the journey that you're on. Natural gas is a positive step on environmental impacts. It's economic. It's the cheapest energy we have, which makes us as a country more competitive with competing countries. And then I take it all the way back down here to West Virginia and say, West Virginia has more gas than almost anyone else. When we compete with other places, that should be one of our strengths and differentiate us.
Let me stay on the environmental front for a minute.
Yeah.
What are your concerns about methane emissions, which are very potent greenhouse gases?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm not gonna. If we want to have a scientific conversation, I'm not your guest, right? But what I watch, right? I watch the really successful businesses and who are in this industry who will be championing how they are addressing these issues with technology, right? Technology is changing what used to be done under old ways of, burning coal, burning gas, drilling, all the pieces of mining, all that pieces, right? We've changed a lot. And I listen to the companies like EQT, which is one of the largest producers in this country here in this region. And they talk about how they are being carbon neutral. They are taking really aggressive steps, embracing technology and doing things a smart way. And so to me, it's like that journey that we're on that we don't know where it's taking us. Technology is going to play a huge part in it. And we don't have the luxury of putting all our bets on any one energy source here. But natural gas is one that truly feels like historically it's got us going in the right direction. It's economic, it's plentiful, it's a real competitive advantage for our country.
The best thing about West Virginia is West Virginia.
It's family, faith, and integrity.
It's a strong work ethic.
Everyone knows their neighbors.
I think we feel closer to nature and we feel closer to each other.
You can achieve anything here.
To be a West Virginian is to be hopeful. We live in a state that has boundless opportunities, and with boundless opportunities come hope.
Hope Gas is lighting the way forward for West Virginia. Learn more at WVisforHope.com.
Leading the efforts to build a stronger West Virginia, the High Technology Foundation has a proven plan to strengthen and diversify our state's economy. The I-79 Technology Park's high-capacity infrastructure continues to attract advanced federal operations that are driving economic growth. This keeps our young, educated residents in the state and brings West Virginians home. The High Technology Foundation, building a stronger West Virginia. Learn more today at WVHTF.org.
Poca Valley has proudly served the citizens of Roane, Kanawha, Putnam, and surrounding counties for over a century. As your trusted community bank, we're committed to building relationships and meeting your financial needs. And with the Poca Valley Visa card, you can enjoy competitive interest rates, no annual fees, and a rewarding points program, all from a bank you know and trust. Visit your local Poca Valley office to apply or call us. Poca Valley, where relationships matter. Member FDIC.
Trojan Landing Marine is now Charleston's newest power sports dealership.
We now feature a full line of sleek Suzuki street bikes and four-wheelers. We're now offering the innovative riding experience of Benda motorcycles. The next step in motorcycle evolution with all-electric Zero high-performance bikes. We've now got Segway vehicles starting as low as $10,000. Come in and check out our great selection of high-quality Benelli and Royal Enfield bikes. Visit Trojan Landing in Charleston, now your water, road, and dirt dealership.
Welcome back to State of Minds, presented by Hope Gas and by Greer Industries. Let's talk about how this company has changed since you took over, and that is, look, you're a pipeline company. Mm-hmm. You could just distribute gas,
yeah.
And nobody would.
Boring, Hoppy.
Yes, and just like if the gas gets there and people pay their bills, then that could be it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you have made this significant effort to ingrain hope into the communities that you serve. Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'll just say it this way. The employees of Hope, I mean, and you know this better than I do, right? It's what West Virginia is about. I mean, people in the community would live and die and fight for their neighbors, right? I mean, that's what West Virginia is. And to me, it's really embracing what the people that live in this state is. And for me, what I tell my employees is, not only do I give you permission to be who you are, I encourage you to be that, right? I encourage you to care about the people around you. I encourage you to give back. I encourage you to be a part of the community that's moving the community forward. That's who our folks are. And I go to the other side of the equation when I talk to my investors, right? So that resonates with my employees. What resonates with my investors is that if West Virginia is growing and doing well economically, Hope Gas will do well economically and through growth, right? We have a vested interest from a business perspective in how West Virginia moves forward. And I overlay all that with, we all get up in the morning and we put our clothes on and come to work, and we're only here for a period of time, right? This life isn't infinite, and our roles aren't clearly infinite. And so you have a chance in that window of time to either make something positive happen, to be a taker and just how much as I can take from it, right? And, I think a lot of us, you get up and you realize you feel good when you're doing good things. And you feel proud when your people that you work with are doing good things. It builds, I'll just say it, a view within the company that, we're bigger than we are. Our impacts can be bigger than just, as you described it, delivering gas to people. We can be much more than that. So why not? Right?
Where does that come from within you? Is that your Irish Catholic upbringing in Pittsburgh?
I would say it's learning what gets the best of people, right? I always tell the story. I became CEO at a pretty early age, and I felt like the guy who says, "Let's go, everybody follow me," and you run out the room and no one's behind you, right? But when you sit there and you engage with people and align yourselves with them, and it becomes as much about them as it is about you, and eventually more about them than you, that's how you really lead people.
Well, how did you change? Did you have a moment, a seminal moment when you changed?
Because so what I found out, this is Morgan O'Brien 101, so you can cut this off at any point. The CEO who preceded me was better educated than I was smarter than I was, understood the industry as what I was, but made some of the worst decisions I'd ever seen. And it was simply that he surrounded himself with a group of people who would tell him what he wanted to hear, which no matter how bright you are, you make the wrong decisions, right? And so I watched that and I said, he's smarter than me, better educated, a whole bunch of other qualities that I don't have. So I have to work twice as hard to really know what's going on. And so from my beginnings as sitting in the chair, I went out and regularly meet with my employees in an unfiltered way. And one of the things, if you've been in industry, you have union employees who have a union contract and feel invincible. Like, I can say anything I want and you can't fire me because I've got this, right? It's the most unfiltered response. You get positive and negatively, right? And arguably the management team that you pick, right, you're setting their wages, you're promoting them, you're helping them, and they tend to sometimes tell you what you want to hear, right? So very, very early in my career, I spent a lot of time, and still to this day, every single week, I set aside one day where I visit with teams in West Virginia. The whole map that you tried to describe at the beginning of this, I literally go to every single shop, and within a quarter, I hit every one of them. But once a week, I spend a whole day, and we have these types of conversations. And for me, I learn what's happening in the business. I hear things unfiltered, exactly what's happening. And I also have found incredible opportunities that my business MBAs who sit in an office and study how to grow the business, the guy who's laying the pipe says, hey, by the way, there's an opportunity for us to help these people over here and we can grow the company. There's a producer who's trying to drill gas and needs somebody to build a pipeline. And I sit there and I listen to my employees, and the next time I come back, I say, hey, those ideas, we did it. Thank you, it worked. That one we didn't do, here's why. And they feel a part of something, right? They're vested now in the success of me, right? Which is really the success of the company. And so that's a whole lot, I'll just say it, that formula works a whole lot better than sitting in your office pretending the world's the way you want it to be.
Do you have any good examples of somebody telling you something you really didn't want to hear?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if it's, as a leader, I don't know that it's ever you don't want to hear, right? I had somebody, and this is a long time ago, so because you'll pick it up right away, when I was at a different utility, and I said, if you were sitting in my chair, what would keep you up at night? And somebody said, you're the youngest guy in this room. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do I think about that? And they're like, well, you don't know what we do, and you don't know how to do what we do. And at some point, we're all going to retire, and you're still going to be here. If I were you, I'd worry about that. And things like that resonate with you, right? And so when I come in a room and I think about that, like one of the things we're really focused on here in West Virginia is the next generation of workers too. It's not just getting the right people in the chairs, but how do we play a part in opening doors for our industry, right? Because it can't end when everybody in the company retires, right? That you can't let it end.
Speaking of investing in the community, your company is famously invested, and I don't think the number is public, but I think it's about, you can correct me, $9, $10, $11, $12 million, something like that. You can confirm or deny in the naming rights for the WVU Coliseum, the Hope Coliseum. That's a big number. If I'm close, and you can correct me, what do you say to the Hope customer who says, I just got my gas bill, or they say it in January, I just got my gas bill. What the heck is Morgan O'Brien doing, spending $10 million, or whatever the number is, on the Coliseum? What do you say?
Yeah, and I would say this, we talk about trying to change how people see Hope, right? The company and my employees. And, for us, it's earning those people's trust, which you have to do over time. And so we're going to be this company, and it's not going to change. And there's no gotcha moment that someone says, oh, this is why they did it. They made all this money, right? They're in it to take advantage of West Virginia or do something that's purely from a financial perspective. And what I would say is this naming right was a way for us. We looked at and we did a lot of research as to what's important to people in West Virginia. And as you said, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and you didn't have to research. The Pittsburgh Steelers win. It's a great week in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers lose. It's a bad week in Pittsburgh, no matter what job you had, right? Here in West Virginia, like WVU's athletics successes and failures, right? This community lives and dies with it. And, whether you like what's happening in college athletics, which I'm sure you've talked a lot about, right? It's becoming a business, and the university needs to find revenue streams that aren't the traditional revenue streams. So I give them a lot of credit. And we talked about what they needed and sort of our bringing credibility that we're in this for the long run and that we are part of West Virginia and we're not going away. And it's not just about taking from West Virginia, it's about giving back, which we do all over the state, but wanted to do something that was so, I'll call it visual and meaningful to people, that it would be hard for them to say, okay, they're just about taking here. This is giving back. Because if you really think of it, it's an investment in the athletic program at WVU. It's an important investment that will allow WVU athletics to be competitive, right?
Why isn't it the Hope Gas Coliseum?
Yeah,
the company's name is Hope Gas.
The company's name is Hope Gas, and it was this. First of all, no matter what, it's hard to not love the name Hope, right? And when we started talking about it, the image that this wasn't about our gas industry. This is about West Virginia, and I'll just say it, like bringing hope to West Virginia, right? The idea that WVU is a place where young people come and their hope is created there, right? Of what they aspire to be, their dreams, and how they become true or not. And it just felt right for a company whose name is Hope to just have it be the Hope Coliseum as opposed to being a commercial about the gas industry. It's for us. It's not just. I'll just say it. Just a tagline. It's something that we think brings more meaning to it. And actually, I'll just say it this way. Like to say this is the place where people have hope. It's hard. It's hard to really push back hard on that.
How'd your investors feel about that?
So I'll just say this. I have convinced them that when you're in it for the long run, right, you need to make investments that aren't always going to have, I'll call it, tangible returns, right? And if you believe that, the future of West Virginia and we play a vital role in hoping to create that upside so that as an investor, they'll enjoy that upside. Doing things like that is important, and it's substantive. It's not buying Girl Scout cookies off the girl at the corner. This is a real investment that is really tangible and has an impact at WVU. And for our employees, right, who've been through this journey of Dominion, West Virginia, the old Hope Gas, I mean, they lit up. Like I had employees say to me, Morgan, I had tears in my eye to see our company's name on the Coliseum. Like that's how much the WVU athletics and putting our company on that meant to them, right? And I don't know how you put a price tag on that.
The Mountain State is full of pioneers once again.
We have one of the most advanced robotic heart surgery programs.
The world's most advanced clean steel facility. 2,000 construction jobs, 800 full-time permanent jobs.
West Virginia is going to end up being a leader, an example to the rest of the U.S.
West Virginia is for hope.
Hope Gas is lighting the way forward for West Virginia. Learn more at wvisforhope.com.
At Greer Industries, we make the roads you drive on safer with skid-resistant asphalt. We make the water you drink cleaner with our abundant supply of hydrated lime. We entertain and inform through all types of media. And we designed one of the world's most recognized golf courses. We're Greer Industries, a family-owned company with over 110 years of commitment to making your life better.
You might think occupational therapy is something to do with getting you back to work, but it's actually so much more than that. We give people back their independence. We break down their daily life. What's meaningful to you? What do you feel has been taken? And what can we do to help make you feel more independent? When a patient tells me that they did this one thing that they weren't able to do, knowing that you gave them the tools to succeed is really rewarding.
It's Toyotathon, and we're determined to make this the best one yet. Starting now, when you purchase any brand new Tundra or Tacoma, you'll drive away with a personalized Dan Cava Yeti cooler. This December, unwrap incredible deals like 2.99% for 72 months on 2026 Tundras. Snow, sleet, or holiday travel, your perfect winter ride is waiting for you. Dan Cava, Toyota World in Fairmont. Shop the world!
Welcome back to State of Minds, presented by Hope Gas and by Greer Industries. You've been here long enough to know, and your familiarity started when you grew up in Pittsburgh, but you've been here long enough to know this is not necessarily the most optimistic place.
Okay. Which is hard to imagine.
Well, for a variety of reasons.
100%, I get it, yeah.
And sometimes we're waiting for the other shoe to fall or waiting for the dark clouds to roll in. How do you, and you sound like a very optimistic guy.
Yeah.
How do you sort through that? I mean,
Sure.
how do you overcome that in a state that has had and continues to have serious challenges?
Yeah, and I'll say this, Hoppy, so if you just take that all the way down, if you think of an organization, so I walk in, right? And I have my enthusiasm, and we're gonna grow. We're gonna make meaningful impacts in West Virginia. We're gonna create jobs. We're gonna become part of the positive that's happening in West Virginia. And I'll just say this: my employees look at me like this guy's nuts, like because we're what you just described. We've seen this. We've saw people come in here, promise things, never deliver, and we were left behind with whatever, right? Like that's a story I've heard.
Yes.
Put the company's name in there, right? A whole bunch of them, right? And so I have to win over the guys inside, right? And so for the last 3 years, right, like I would say to them, I'm going to change what you do, and it's going to be hard. Your job's going to get harder. At some point, you're going to hate me, right? But when we get to the other side, we're going to be a better company, and you're going to tell me we're a better company, right? And so we've had a bunch of these things that we've done, and call it putting in a whole new IT system, right? Where torture people with, okay, this is the way we did it for the last 20 years, and now you got to learn it. And now going to the other side saying, oh my God, the information is so much, I can do my job better, I know this, right? And so we've had a handful of these, I'll call it like aha moments where people say, okay, he's starting, like some of the things he said is starting to happen. But early on, I was the only guy in the room, right? And I'm just saying, please trust me. Like, we're going to get through this. I know it's hard. I know I'm challenging. And there's this view that when you change something, that somebody's done something the same way, that you're accusing them of not being competent, of doing something, that they've been doing it wrong for years, right? And now, I'll just say it internally, like when we talk about change and artificial intelligence and the things that are hydrogen, right? And we start talking about the things that are happening out in the world, they all sit there and say, yeah, we don't know what it's going to look like, but like, why wouldn't we want to help create it, right? Whatever that is, where we're going, like, why don't we want to be on the team that's helping to create it? And you know, we've changed everything from soup to nuts in our company. One of the things that was really important to me was that we created values that represented the people in West Virginia. So I hired a consultant, and they did a survey of my employees throughout West Virginia. And I asked them the simple question, when you look in the mirror, what are your personal values? And 97% of them picked 3 values, right? Unbelievable, right? Number 1 was faith. Faith is really important to them. Number 2 was family, right? And number 3 was integrity. And it was funny, the person who did this for me said, I've never seen a corporation where those were their values, right? And I said, but those are the values of my people. So those are my values, whether I claim them or not. When those people get up in the morning, that's who they are. And by the way, those are pretty powerful values, right? And they resonated with me personally. So the first thing we did is we said, these are Hope Gas's values: faith, family, and integrity. And people said, so we're allowed to say Merry Christmas? I said, if you want to say a prayer, you can say a prayer. It's okay. You can't make other people do it, but it's okay. Like, and we had gotten to this corporate view years ago where, you know, people started with a little, you know, blessing on the bottom of their email. That had to be taken off. People then at one point said, we can't put out Christmas decorations because that's offensive to somebody, right? I don't know who. And so the corporate world had sort of beaten into the employees that when you're at work, you have to be something other than who you are. And then it's, you know, you go home and that's who you are. We said, no, like, we're going to be who you are. And I literally, when I go into locations, I'll never forget the first time, because I grew up in a corporate world where people said, you have to be different when you're in the office. And, you know, somebody said to me, since faith is, Morgan, can we say a prayer? I said, absolutely, say a prayer. And they did. And it's sort of like, okay, this is who we're going to be. We're going to be who we are. And now what we've turned that into is when we do things in the community, like, does it align with our values, right? And when I go out in the field, I always say, was there anything we did strategically or something we're doing in business that you think questions those values, right? Because I need to know from you, right? What do you hear? And they'll call me out on things like, you know, I heard we did this, I heard this, right? But it's sort of created, going back to this, it's okay to be you. It's not only okay to be you, I need you to be you, and I want you to be the best version of you. Like, I don't need you to do something to fit into a square box because we have a bunch of square boxes here. So I'm trying to, I'll just say it, take what I think is the really strengths of this community and make it not just acceptable, but make it a strength of who Hope Gas is.
Morgan, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.